Hey guys, Eric here out at the Bethlehem Golf Club. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to blend your backswing with your downswing, how to start the downswing, a really key concept. It's going to help you a lot. Before we dive into those and the drills for you to do it, just a quick word from today's video sponsor. I want to talk to you today about Live View Golf. Now you guys hear me say all the time that you need feedback when you're practicing. You need to know if you're actually doing what you're trying to do, and the best way to give yourself feedback ultimately is video. And not only is video the best way to give yourself feedback, but being able to see yourself simultaneously as you're doing a movement is the best form of video feedback. It's the best way I've seen to make changes in your swing and be able to correlate the differences between your feels and your reels. Live View is super easy to use and set up. Simply set it up behind or in front of you. You connect it with your iPad or phone, pop that on the ground. You can actually do your practice, see yourself as you're doing it, the best way to expedite your process. I encourage you guys to check out Live View Golf. We'll put a link in the description down below with a coupon code. All right guys, so let's talk about how you blend your backswing with the downswing. With us here, Mr. Mark Braziller.
What's up, man?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here again. Mark at the Burroughs Golf Club in Soho, in Manhattan. Awesome, awesome indoor facility. If you guys are in the area, going to be in the area, touch base with Mark, go see him, go see his place. We'll put the info down in the link down below. Also some really good Instagram videos that were the basis of a lot of these videos here for today. So let's flip-flop spots here. I'm going to give you center stage, roll out the red carpet. And we're talking about blending the backswing with the downswing.
Yeah. Right.
How do you start the downswing? I know we have a couple of good drills here and feels here, but let's just kind of lay the foundation for some ideas of that transition piece of the swing.
Sure. I mean, what I like to do, especially when I see a player sort of not moving in this proper athletic sequence, because this is a sequence that we would see in throwing and hitting outside of golf, is I like to just walk them through the basics of what the pelvis does, right? So in this first move, there's a little pressure shift generally over into the right side, you know, and we'll say at this point, the club's about halfway back. Now, already at this point, you should be thinking about transitioning. You should be thinking about heading that way. So after I've made my move into the right side here, and I've got this club about parallel, as I finish my arm swing and I finish my hip turn, I'll be shifting forward. I'll be shifting my weight forward. So, you know, I've seen these studies that were done on, you know, all sorts of gears and swing cat, and it just seems to me that at about this sort of left arm parallel position, the majority of the weight for a better player is already on their back foot, and from there they continue to turn to the top as they're shifting forward. So it's this really nice blended move that we see out of all of our favorite swings, like Hogan, McIlroy does this a ton. And you know, the real key in this to me is that there's no stagnation in this move. There's not a top of the backswing, then start the downswing. There is a sort of a dance move to this where the right hip maybe aligns with the right ankle, then starts to rotate behind the tailbone, and then it starts to move towards the target while it's behind the tailbone. And the more you do this, like an old school Rory, you hit big high hooks. The less you do it, if it comes out this way and you're doing this kind of Elvis move, you're more likely to have that hand path shift out, and then you either have to sort of do some crazy business to get to the inside part of the ball, or you just live with it and you know, pull one over there and then slice it over that way. Yeah,
I think most of us would like to live in that big high hook department to start with.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, that is if you are not feeling athletic with your hips, if you're not knowing how to start your downswing, which again, I would say is a sort of a mythical concept. This is one move. You got to go right for this idea that the shift happens early, the turn happens simultaneously with a shift back towards the target, and it kind of has this circular or elliptical look, and it does have that feel of, you know, I'll say to my players, it's backing into the target.
Love that.
So you got your right shoulder and your right hip pocket looking at the target back there, and at that point you are shifting while that almost increases. A lot of people ask me what to do next from there, and the cool thing is it sort of just happens. It's a nice athletic, instinctive move that has a lot of really great chain reactions that you don't have to think about every single thing you're doing.
I like that.
Yeah.
We like that. We like high bomb draws. We like simple.
Yeah.
So I want to just clarify a couple of those really key points you said there
Yeah.
in as few words as possible.
Yeah, good luck.
Okay. Number one, the downswing starts a lot sooner than most people would think.
Yeah, certainly the linear component.
Yeah.
Yes.
So number two,
Yeah.
when I go back, I'm having a little bit of a shifting, we'll say, into my trail side early
Yep.
until somewhere in about this position,
Sure.
kind of hands hip high-ish. From that point forward, what we would like to see is the trail hip, let's say it's on or just kind of inside the ankle, starts moving back behind me towards the target
Totally.
as the hands are still working up and back.
Yep.
If I did that too much,
Yep.
like I do, and got too far here, I've got this freaking real estate here for me to get my arms and hands and club in to swing from inside.
Absolutely.
I would hit the push hook.
Yeah.
That would be a really good thing for someone who tends to go too far this way.
Certainly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and again, if you were my student, I would say do not watch this video because that's, yeah, for you personally.
Yes. Yeah.
This move is definitely intended to get you deeper, more from the inside.
Yeah.
Though there are a lot of good athletic, elements to it, which is why you're such a good ball striker, right?
Thank you, sir.
And that's where we want to get people to with this move. And if they're stuck, shooting even par because of it, and
Right.
they can't shoot 2 or 3 under, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I think all of the benefits you get from that outweigh any negatives, and get there first, and then you can back off a little after.
100%.
So we have the pushing into the trail side early,
Yep.
right? The club staying pretty neutral. As my hands are getting kind of up and back behind my shoulder, my hip is actually working towards the target. And we'll put some B-roll and some shots on here where we can see that motion.
Yep.
And so as that's happening, that pressure's starting to shift back towards my lead leg.
Yep.
And from a sort of feel perspective, I'm just going to kind of let it go there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Let me hit
absolutely.
one, Mark, just with that first thought process. So the feels are a little to the right early. I'm not letting the hip go outside the ankle. It's too far right.
Yep.
And then I'm starting to go around as my hands go
Yeah.
up and back. And I know you got a good drill
Yeah.
after I hit one here. So a little to the right, and then letting my right hip work back
Nice
around.
little loop, right?
A little loop, yep. Sort of circling the
that's nice
hips.
there.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's like, listen, again, with the overdoing it part, it's like, I'm going to try and keep my words concise. You would have such good problems if you
Yeah.
overdid that.
Completely.
Such
Totally.
good problems. So one more, and I want to do that little drill here. Little to the right early, hip doesn't go outside the ankle. Right hip around as my hands are going up and back. You know what I really feel? Because I mean, I'm exaggerating it a little bit
Yeah.
for the sake of just doing it. I feel like my right hip is back farther compared to normal. And I really get the sense, like almost like in the second half and early down, I'm trying to get my right hip as far this way away from the ball.
Let me hop behind you. I
Yeah.
know we didn't talk about this yet, but this is a good image, and you guys could do this at home. We're going to pretend this club right here is a wall, and I've got it about 2 inches behind your butt here.
Okay.
So essentially, in this first move, you're going to shift a little to the right.
Yep.
And now, when you do the turning part, you want to put your right ass cheek on the wall, and now it starts to slide forward. So you're going to use your right ass cheek to touch the wall, and then slide it forward.
Okay.
And if you do that while dropping your arms down in transition, you'd hit the highest hook possible.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
That's perfect. So maybe if I had like, I guess a full wall, the club would get in the way. But if
Sure.
I had like a bag.
You also don't even need the club right now. In the early days
Yeah.
of doing this drill, I love people to just be able to feel something sort of like, shift into the right leg, right hip touches the wall,
Yeah.
and then wipes across the wall.
Okay.
If the right hip never touches the wall, you're dead, right? Because then you have no hip depth at all.
And Mark, just to clarify from you,
Yeah.
are you like an inch?
I would say 2 inches
okay,
is
just a
good.
couple
Inch
Yeah.
or two, right?
Yeah.
If your right hip never touches the wall, you won't have enough depth to your swing, most likely.
Yep.
And if it touches the wall but then comes right off the wall, you'll lose that depth early, and your hand path will start tipping back out this way.
Perfect. Perfect. And so as I'm doing this, I know, so the wall drill is kind of the first one, beautiful drill.
Yeah.
And then I know the second drill is a little bit of kind of a step feel.
Yeah, and the great thing about this drill here is I think the second benefit to this whole right hip movement is not just that you can hit from the inside and hit it high, it's to really understand that this swing it's one motion, right?
Yeah.
I see too many people, up to the backswing to get to this mythical perfect spot, and then how do I start from there? If you're thinking like that, you're not gonna hit a ball well. Not consistently anyway.
I also would say, there might be a time and place where we might have someone like pause at the top and practice from there for certain things. But again, kind of knowing where you're at, like the higher the handicap and maybe the more the motion.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if I go to a range.
I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole there, but.
But if I go to a driving range at a tour event, this is the thing I see, right? I see constant motion.
Yeah.
I see backswings that are turning and simultaneously shifting pressure forward while they're still turning back. And I think that is a universal thing that good players all do well, and is totally under-talked. And
it's tough because there's good players who have the opposite issues, who be preaching the opposite and taking as gospel, but it's because they have too much of those things. Without doubt, measured, non-negotiable. Better players have the hips more forward and sooner than higher handicaps.
Absolutely.
Is what it is.
Absolutely.
So if I'm overdoing it like I do, push, hook, shoot 3 under, okay, and I'm doing a video about my feels, I'm gonna feel like my hip stays back. I'm gonna feel like my hip goes up in this way.
Absolutely, and that maybe you never shift your weight forward.
But that's very unique to that pattern. It's very unique to that pattern. So when we see some coaches or players feeling that, understand if they're trying to fix this, that player hit a hook and double bogeyed a hole, so they shot 71 instead of 68. That's where they're at, right?
Yep.
So that's sort of why they're doing it. I think that's super important. So as I'm doing this drill, Mark, the second way you said is I'm going back again, little shift to the right, hands about hip high, and then I'm actually gonna step forward.
As you're completing your arm swing, shoulder turn, and hip swing, yeah.
So as I'm doing the step, my left foot steps forward just like an inch or two.
Yeah, yeah.
And for me, the sensation is I'm getting the right hip as far away from the ball, kind of up and back this way.
Totally.
As my hands go back.
Yeah.
And what I really, I mean, for me, man, the sensation is, if I'm doing this correctly,
and
even overdoing it, I got so much space. Like I got so much space.
You look like an athlete while you're doing it. Again, I think
GQ model.
Yeah, totally. Okay. But that goes without saying. The athlete thing was a little bit more of a, hidden
for this
gem.
video.
Yeah. No, but I think, again, there's two concepts we're talking about. We're talking about positions and what positions help certain shot shapes occur and whatnot. But I think the more important thing here, and something I'd like to see golfers get more in tune with, is this is an athletic motion. So, to piggyback on this sort of stepping thing, and I never graduated much past Little League Baseball, but I do know that, as this bat's going back, and as my hips and torso are turning back, I'm stepping forward. If I were to throw a football, same thing. This football's going back. My right shoulder, my right hip are still going back as I'm stepping forward. If I do it like this, I'm not throwing this ball anywhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the same idea. We're just trying to make this more like sports.
I think, a couple of those key concepts, in terms of the hip motion, sort of circling the hips around, right? Circling the right hip around. That's happening a lot sooner, I think, than most people would think. That's a big concept. 90 out of 100 random golfers we would select would be better off with more of that, not less.
Absolutely. 10
would overdo it and maybe need some of the opposites. The more you would do that, the more you'd hit the push hook. The less you do it, the less you would see the opposite.
Absolutely.
And then there's 2 sensation drills to do. The hip, I think the wall thing's really good.
Yeah. It's wiping the wall with
wiping the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
And being okay with over exaggerating, and then feeling the step as I go here, as the club's here, I'm stepping, and then continuing that and going through. And you guys will really like that when you hit some and feel that. I think that's pretty good. Transition, backswing to downswing, constant motion, Mark Burrows Golf Club, Soho, Manhattan. Instagram will link all that below. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.